Hello everybody, how's it going? I'm going to be giving you my own personal picks for UFC 264, Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus the notorious Conor McGregor. And I'm going to be going over these picks in no particular order. I'm only going to be talking about fights that I'm taking an interest in. And when you start in the prelims, there's two fights on the prelims that I have an eye for. And the first one is between Niko Price and Michel Pereira. And for those that don't know who Michel Pereira is, this guy has a reputation for being a bit of a showboat, and he's also one of the most dynamic fighters on the roster. This is a guy that's known for throwing spinning shit and rolling thunders out of nowhere. He throws Showtime specials all the time. He's popping off the cage like he's some kind of ninja, and he's all over the place. Again, you can expect some crazy acrobatic maneuvers in his fights. Now, the only thing is that all these acrobatic kind of flashy maneuvers come at his own detriment half the time. He had this fight in Canada between this last second fill-in between Tristan Connolly, and this guy, he did not take the fight serious. He came in overweight, and before he even got into the cage, he was breakdancing all over the place. He was throwing windmills everywhere. And then when the fight began, again, he started doing all his crazy dynamic acrobatic maneuvers. He's jumping off the cage. He's throwing his rolling thunders. He's throwing his spinning elbows everywhere. He's flipping around everywhere like he's a Ninja Turtle. And then there's this moment where after a minute of this happens, Tristan Connolly, he just subtly avoids all these maneuvers. And then Michel Pereira, he has this look in his eye, that look that tells you that, yeah, I just expended my entire gas tank on all those flashy moves. And then it was just open season for Tristan Connolly, who got fight of the night. And guess what? Michel Pereira did not get a cent of that fight of the night bonus because he didn't make weight. And that's a huge problem. Now, I'm not just shitting on the guy. I think that, one of the reasons why Michel Pereira is so popular is that the guy is coordinated enough to get a knockout while doing a rolling thunder. He's one of the most fun fighters to watch, but again, Niko Price has more solid fundamentals than him. He's a guy that I trust to get the fight done better than Michel Pereira. At the end of the day, solid fundamentals beat flashy, cinematic, showboaty type of moves all the time, without a doubt. So I'm going to have to give it to Niko Price. I think he's going to win the fight. And honestly, I think Michel Pereira is going to do something stupid that will come at his own detriment. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but, I highly doubt it. Then you have Carlos Condit, a former champion, versus Max Griffin. Two old guys going at it again. And I think that Carlos Condit is going to win the fight. I believe that Max Griffin is known as being a knockout type of guy. And at the end of the day, Carlos Condit is an extremely well-rounded fighter. He's good on his feet. He's good on his ground. He's got good jiu-jitsu offensively and defensively, some solid wrestling. So, yeah, I'm going to have to give it to Carlos Condit. I think he's going to win his fight. Then we get into the main card. This is hilarious. We have Sugar Sean O'Malley versus the blank display picture. Chris, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's last name because his name has never been announced by Bruce Buffer. I've got no idea how to pronounce that. And he's a blank cardboard cutout. I think he's a complete tomato can, too. I've never heard of this guy. His record is 9 wins, 4 losses. We don't even know his stats. His height is mysterious. He's got a mysterious height. He's a shapeshifter. His reach is unknown. Again, he's a grower, not a shower. His leg reach is God knows how much long. So I think I'm going to go with Sugar Sean O'Malley because he's the rising superstar. And at the bare minimum, the guy has a display picture. Chris, what's his face, is a blank cardboard cutout. Completely mysterious. Don't know anything about the guy. And so, yeah, that's my pick. Not really a hard pick. And for the next fight I took an interest in was Tai Tuivasa versus Greg Hardy. And I think that Tai Tuivasa is going to win the fight. And, these guys are both known as strikers and knockout artists. But I think Tai Tuivasa has more solid fundamentals. And he's been through many 5-round wars that were tough fights that he's come out on top of. And I think that warrior spirit matters a lot more than anything. And that is to say that Greg Hardy is a bad fighter, but he's also not as well-rounded as Tai Tuivasa. Greg does not have a ground game. The guy has no jiu-jitsu. The guy is a complete turtle on his back when he's in a fight. The guy is completely defenseless if you get him on his ground. I don't even think that Tai Tuivasa is going to go for a takedown, but it's open and available. If you just want to win the fight, that's what you do. And I'm also going to give it to Tai Tuivasa because, again, those 5-round wars. And Greg Hardy, I don't know if the work ethic is there because he almost didn't make weight once for heavyweight. Heavyweight limit. He's 6'5". You should be able to make 265 at a height of 6'5", no problem. And again, I don't like ripping on a guy. I mean, the guy's a martial artist. The guy actually fights in a cage. But again, that's just, I'm calling it as I see it. I think Tai Tuivasa is going to win. And the only downside to Tai Tuivasa winning is he's going to pull one of those shoeies if he wins. And it's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. For those that don't know, that's when he drinks beer out of a complete stranger's shoe. And I don't have the stomach for that kind of shit. So now we get into the co-main event. A welterweight fight. And this is, in my opinion, this will be my fight of the night without a doubt. It's between Gilbert Durinho Burns versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. This is a classic case of a grappler versus a striker. And my pick might surprise some people because at a glance, Gilbert Burns is more well-rounded. He's got that knockout power. He's got good wrestling. And he's one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners on the planet. But he has one fundamental flaw, and we saw this in the Kamaru Usman fight. And that's all in the gas tank. He gassed out completely. He was winning that fight in the first round. But then he depleted his gas tank, and he was completely victimized from then on out by Kamaru Usman. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I trust him enough to have the cardio to make it through all 5 rounds. But he's also kind of a tough nut to crack. I mean, he strikes kind of weird. Nobody has an answer for his karate style. The way he kind of just picks people apart from a distance. The way he pops in and out. He is the death by 1,000 cuts fighter. He frustrates a lot of people with his striking style. I think his last fight was against, it was either Jeff Neal or Neil Magny. Those guys confuse me all the time, but he fought the shorter one out of those two. And he just picked him apart. And I think the other guy was mostly known for his wrestling. And again, Wonderboy just beat him. So, yeah, I think Wonderboy is going to win the fight. I think he's a problem. He's a problem for Gilbert Burns. I don't know what the odds are, but again, it'll be really fun to see Kamaru versus Wonderboy. I'm a little biased. I want to see that fight. I think that's a fun fight to see. And then for the main event, the trilogy, the notorious Conor McGregor versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. And you see a lot of people, when it comes to making a pick, they just say the obvious things like, oh, Conor will knock him out in the first 2 rounds, but if it goes 5 rounds, it's going to Dustin the Diamond Poirier. And I'm just going to make a definitive call that I think that Dustin Poirier is going to drag him deep into this fight, and he's going to beat that ass. And the main reason why I think that Dustin is going to win is that Dustin is a proven warrior. He has made it out of 5-round wars against the likes of Justin Gaethje and Dan Hooker, and he has found a way to come out on top out of both those fights. And that matters a lot to me. Dustin is also a more well-rounded fighter than Conor McGregor. If Dustin has the game plan to make this a jiu-jitsu battle or to wrestle Conor McGregor, that is a pathway to victory. He just has more opportunities to win the fight. If he drags the fight longer, he'll win in the striking. If he brings the fight to the ground, he'll win on the ground. For Conor McGregor, we know that Conor McGregor notoriously has a bad gas tank. That was a pun out of nowhere. That was completely unintentional, but again, look at Conor McGregor the first time he fought Nate Diaz. His gas tank completely fell apart. And even in the second fight, he had a hard time with that gas tank. I don't think that he's going to have that free one-and-done knockout against Dustin Poirier. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I'm not a blind hater, although, to be honest, Conor McGregor, he's not winning any hearts and minds by fighting old guys at a bar. But another big reason why I think it's going to be pretty hard for Conor McGregor to win is that they say that human beings are teleological creatures, and that is that when they have a goal in sight, they can kind of find their way towards that goal in the same way that a pigeon will always manage to find its way back home no matter what. And the reason why I think that is that Conor McGregor has already accomplished all his goals. He said he wanted to become a double champ. You know, he has in the past, he has already achieved that goal. He is quoted saying that, I want my wife to have a car for every day of the week, and I want my kids and my grandchildren to all have mansions. And Conor McGregor is one of the richest athletes on the planet. Not only did he make $100 million in his Floyd Mayweather fight, he also made $600 million selling his liquor company. So that, again, this is a man who has already accomplished everything he ever wanted, and I don't know how he's going to dig deep in those later rounds to win the fight. Dustin, the Diamond Poirier, this guy, he wants to win this fight. He had to bust his ass off to knock Conor McGregor out in the second fight to get the contract that he wanted for the third fight. So yes, I think that it's going to go to Dustin, the Diamond Poirier. But you never know. You know who might surprise us in this fight? The cardboard cutout, Chris What's-His-Face. You don't know who this guy is. It's completely, this guy is, who is he? It's completely mysterious. We don't know who Chris is. Chris might come out of nowhere and just steal Sugar Sean O'Malley's stardom. You got to give it to the blank cutout. He might come out of nowhere. Okay, I'm just joking, but you know, again, I think it's going to be an awesome fight. I think it's the last great fight of the summer, and you know, it's going to be the last great pay-per-view, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good one. So have a good one, everybody.